Good evening and welcome to the Neighborhood Passions Affinity Network, presented by Google and Neighbor to Neighbor. My name is Jim Hawk and I'll be your host this evening. Tonight, we're focusing on one of 8 key neighborhood passions, effective neighborhood organizing. And our topic is why every neighborhood needs a good website. And we're going to be a little bit more casual tonight. And we have some people in the room that really are here to learn about this topic. And I think it would be most helpful for everybody to just talk about why we're here tonight. And then we can go ahead and address some of your questions that you may have. I'll do, after we hear why you're here, I'll say a few words and then we'll start addressing questions. But I really want to make sure that this is time well spent for you. And so I'm not going to ask anybody to go first, but if whoever's willing to share, just why did you decide that this is where you wanted to come tonight?
Well, our organization is longstanding in the community, and we're relatively active, but we have never had an up and running website. Part of that concern, as far as I'm concerned, is I don't want to have to manage it. I don't want to, we need someone who can devote that kind of time. The problem is that we have two ends of the spectrum. Those persons who can do it, but their schedules are such that nobody wants to make that commitment. And the other end of the spectrum of those persons who are not techno savvy and, older people who feel really intimidated by it. So we have talked about a website for years, but we have not started one. And so I'm just coming to find out more information and see where we go from here.
And thank you, Janet. And does your organization currently use like Facebook or Twitter or Nextdoor?
Right. No, we don't. We do everything basically by, we've just gotten into having our virtual meetings by Zoom. We're doing with a free conference call. We were doing that. And then we decided to move to Zoom because we're having people who are wanting to present development plans to our group. And so we needed a way to be able to look at their site plans and their presentations more effectively. So we have now moved into Zoom, but we do not have Facebook, or we're not on Facebook, we're not on Twitter, we're not on any of those platforms.
All right. And that's totally fine. And I would suggest that if you're in that situation, the best place to start is a website. And so tonight we'll when we talk about that, and maybe we'll also make sure we get some time to talk about what to do when you have those two extremes and no one in the middle that can really help you with your website.
Okay,
all right,
thank you.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Who else?
I'll start. We do have Greenwood, our neighborhood association. We do have Facebook. It was set up by a former neighbor that's no longer in Nashville. So we have it, but it's really not utilized much. I'll usually put on there that we're having a meeting. Don't think many people see it, or because I don't get many replies back. But I also get a lot of people that ask to join Greenwood. If they can be like from Greenwood, Arkansas, Greenwood, Indiana, it's just strange to me. But I'm not tech savvy, so therefore I would need help with trying to update the page and make changes to it. We do use Nextdoor. I don't know if other people use nextdoor.com. I use Nextdoor. And then on Facebook, East Nashville has a Facebook page, so I can also post meetings there that everybody can still see. We don't have any Zoom. We're not set up for Zoom. And our board members are, most of them are over 70, except our vice president. He's a younger guy. So most of them are 60 to 70 or 80 years old. So I can't get any, I don't get any help there for my board members. I'm 68, so therefore I'm just a step behind them.
You're the baby of the group. I'm a president of our Scarrett Bennett Center, or Scarrett's National College's Alumni Council. And we stopped graduating people in 1988, and I graduated in 1988. So I am always the youngest member of the alumni in that group. So I understand, Anita.
Yeah.
And we have a young vice president that's probably in his 30s, but he travels a lot for business, so he's not able to help out much.
Anybody else want to cue us into where you're at with websites and all this?
Okay, O&E used to have a website because we had the O&E as well as the O&E Barnes Scholarship. Somehow or another, it got messed up. And so we never could get it fixed. And so we don't have a website, but we do have one for our scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to get the O&E one back up and running since we're not meeting. We do have our board meetings by Zoom, which is a pain. Because everybody, I mean, you know, even though I send out the information, I send the notification out, I get the Zoom and everything. And, you know, half the time people, they don't respond, that either they're coming or they're not coming to the meeting, not showing up for the meeting. And then some of them, even though they have the link on their phones, they won't even click on the link. They always go up to the office where Brenda is. And so then you've got the room full of people there. And it's like, well, if y'all gonna go up there, we might as well meet in person, but they won't meet in person. And so I end up doing everything, and I'm tired of doing everything, even though I am a co-chair.
Yeah.
And I end up doing the minutes, reviewing the treasury report and having questions for that. And I'm just fed up to here. And, you know, I don't know what to do, because I've been on the board since 2001.
Ooh.
And I've held different offices on the board as well as on the scholarship committee. So I've been there a long time.
You have.
And everybody that I bring on, they stay a little bit, then they're gone. And so even meeting on Zoom, we still can't get people to participate.
Yeah.
That's true.
And one of the things I want to make clear tonight is, because I think if I look at this room, everybody in this room is in a similar situation where they're really in charge of their group, and there may be other people helping, but really taking the lead. And I'm not suggesting that you all need to learn how to be webmasters. So let's just be clear about that. My expectation is not that you become the webmaster in addition to your others. And so it's going to be really important for us to talk about how we recruit, how we get that help. Carolyn,
We need to find somebody that all of the groups can pitch in and pay their salaries to do our website.
There you go. Carolyn, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Only thing I have to share is that we do have a website, Lakeside Cove, and we're on Neighbor to Neighbor. But I'm not the website advisor. I'm just here for myself to get information. but we have it already. Lakeside Cove has the neighbor to neighbor and the website, and most of the board members, like yourself, Deborah, handles all that. I'm just back in the background, adding little information. That's what I do in the background.
All right, thanks, Carolyn.
All right.
Let me go over a few things and then we'll really get into, it sounds like everybody is on that, focused on that spectrum where we're talking about needing somebody to do the work. But I do want to take a couple minutes, since there will be folks that will be listening that may be interested in talking about the why and the content. And in today's world, we have got to have, our neighborhood organizations must have an online presence. Particularly as most neighborhoods still do not do a newsletter, even though that is really important to get done. There's got to be a way for people who move into your neighborhood to find you. And you have to make it easy for people to find you. And if you're not making it easy for people to find you, then you are really shooting yourself in the foot, because it continues this thing where there's not enough people, and I can't do it all, and so we never move from where we are. The other thing that I'll say is a lot of people very early on went to decided we'll just do Facebook, or we'll just do Nextdoor. And there are some, and those are good tools, but they are not the be all end all tool. Facebook has changed dramatically since I started using it. And the algorithms that they use today mean frequently that if you put a post up, most of the people on your page will never see it. They have to be frequently going to your page, looking at it, so that they get your posts. If they're not paying attention to your page, if they're not going there and looking at it, the chances are unless they maybe only have 1 or 2 people that they're following, the chances are they're not going to be getting it on a regular basis. So it used to be that neighborhood leaders would send out an announcement on Facebook and say, meeting tomorrow night at 6:30. And the frequent thing is nobody's here. Well, it's these changes that they've done have really caused problems. And Nextdoor is not that way, but a fewer and fewer people in many neighborhoods are using them, and really for the same, they are going off Facebook and they're going off Nextdoor for the same reason. They're tired of all the stuff that's going on those. And they feel like whenever they go, they're being assaulted, or just the stress, the negativity. They don't want any part of that. And there are other people who just, in principle, do not want to use those platforms because of privacy concerns. The benefit of having a website is, if you are on the internet, you can get to a website. You don't have to pay anything, and you don't have to give away your privacy. And it is so much, and so it is so much easier if you have a website to really promote that address. And on that, you can say, oh, we have a Facebook page. Oh, we have a Nextdoor page. But really, you use the website as your driver for your organization. And the other things, if you have a good website, anything that you post on your website, say if you have a blog associated with it, you can automatically post to your Facebook page. Can't do it to Nextdoor, but you can do it to your Facebook page or Twitter account or whatever, so that information can go beyond just your website. One of the reasons why a website is really important is because most people are learning about restaurants that they want to go to, stores that they want to visit, churches that they want to go to, and even neighborhood organizations by going online and doing a search. Fewer and fewer people actually know their neighbors, and fewer than those are willing to ask their neighbor questions about what they, well, where should I go to eat? What, that's a pretty common question, but, do we have a neighborhood meeting? Who's going to really ask about meetings, and unless there already have been a neighborhood in a neighborhood organization in the past and want to be part of that. So having that site is really helpful for potential participants. It's also helpful for potential developers that are coming into your neighborhood. Contrary to what you may think, developers actually do a lot of research into the neighborhoods in which they're moving into. And so by having a website, you're able to articulate your values, your interests. If you go to a website like the Germantown neighborhood or the Cane Ridge, you're going to see on their sites, hey, developers, if you're developing here, this is what we expect of you. And that cuts down on a lot. Because if it's maybe if it's not a individual developer who doesn't take the time to do this, but if it's a company that's developing in your area, they're going to look at that. And they're going to try to figure out whether your neighborhood is a good fit for them. And so that's another real benefit of having a website. I've been thinking a lot about website, and please interrupt me with questions or comments, but I have been thinking a lot about websites lately and how important they are, and what we should be using them for. And I think the basic thing is to welcome people to the neighborhood and to encourage them to become part of the neighborhood organization. And that is something that can be on there pretty regularly and doesn't have to be changed every week. Giving the way that the meetings are going to happen, giving a contact name, phone number, email address. It can be a common email address like info@yourneighborhoodorganization.org, something like that. But having that is really, really important because a lot of people won't just show up to a meeting. They want to know someone that's going first and have a conversation because there's a lot of things going on that people don't want to be part of, and people don't want to be part of crazy. And so, meeting someone and getting to know them is really important. And having that information on there helps with that. Carolyn.
What's the difference between a webinar and a website?
Oh, okay. So a website is like, let me show you. Let me get there here. One moment. That's a great question. So here's our website, right?
Okay.
You go on there, neighbor to neighbor, a little bit about us, some pictures. Okay, so you're going to find out information about who we are. And it's always going to, a lot of it's going to be the same. Like 90% of it will probably be the same. When you're going to a webinar, you're actually going to a session where there's 2 or 3 people, maybe more, maybe less, who are talking and who are teaching a workshop or making a presentation. So it's totally different between, they sound a lot alike. The only difference is they're on the web. So you got a website that people go and visit, and you got a webinar, which is sort of like a seminar, right? But it's on the web. So that's similar names, but they're totally different, different things to be involved with. Yeah. One of the things, if I was doing a neighborhood organization on my own today, or if I was developing it, what I'm looking at is really developing it so that we become a trusted brand, a trusted source of information about what's going on in the neighborhood. And some of the things that I would want to do is I would want to make sure that in addition to having the static information, the information that hardly ever changes, I would want to have a page, probably the landing page, where it's sort of more like a blog, where you can post and all the new information, and it just goes, and so you have the newest information at the top, and all the other information just drops down lower and lower. And that is actually pretty easy once it's set up for anybody to do. So for instance, if I was in that neighborhood, I may know that the meeting for the neighborhood is coming up on the 20th of this month. So I would do a blog post, sort of like a Facebook post in many ways, that would say, you know, neighborhood meeting September 20th, and I'd give all the details about it, put in the link about how to get to it, and post that. And then I might find out from the council member that there's a new development going on in my neighborhood. And what I would want to do is I would want to put new development and I would put in there where the location is and all the information I can find about it and post it. And then it might be that there's the crime report that you get from the council person, or from the, I'm sorry, from the police department. They can give you a PDF of that report that could be put on your website as well. All these things, what they do is they begin to build you a reputation where you are looked at as the source of information for your neighborhood, and become more respected. And people are like, oh, okay, these people really care about our neighborhood. They really know what's going on, and they're sharing important information with me. And I think that is what we're trying to do with a website, is really have people build trust in us. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to come to the meetings, but let me tell you that if in a crisis something happens, they're going to look to you if something happens in the neighborhood for information, and are more willing, if it's something directly impacting them, to show up at your meeting. And so I think that's really important to have that kind of information. I don't think you need, I think the other thing that I would do is really try to get at least every time post-COVID, because, you know, all you do right now when you have your meetings is a big screenshot of the people that are there. But I would try to have a couple photographs in each one of those posts, at least one photograph, because people, again, want to see who's coming to these meetings. They want to see who's there. And so by having those photographs, you're actually helping people to understand who's attending those meetings. What are some other things that you think of that would be good to have on a website that would really help to build people's trust in your organization, or really help you to think about, make you become a trusted source of information?
Probably some information or a section there in which the local council person could put up information, things that he felt, he or she feels that would impact the neighborhood. That they wouldn't have to wait on hearing it on the news or seeing something happen in their neighborhood. They could always look to that part of the website in which the council person would automatically have put something up, certainly not trying to give him or her more responsibility or more work. But I think if they could go to the website and they could see firsthand what the council person is saying, I think that would help too.
And at the very least, a page that shows who the Metro Council person is, a page that shows who your state representative is, your senator, your US senator, US congressman, having that on there, even school board member, right? Having that on there really helps people, again, a trusted source. And you can, and they, Janet, you're right. They may be too busy to post on your website, but if you had a link to their website on there, then they could go ahead and click on that link and discover what that person is saying.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, anything else?
As Nashville changes, like I say, our neighborhood association was started about 23 years ago. So like I say, our board members are all, seniors. So they have no interest in Facebook. But as the younger people come in, that's their primary source of communicating is Facebook. And so we're not able to keep it up and keep it updated, then they don't really have a way of keeping up, knowing what we're doing. Because they're not, we get a few that go to next door, and some will tell me they saw it on the East Nashville Facebook page. But these younger people are expecting you to have a Facebook page, or Twitter. And that's how they stay informed. And that's who's moving into our neighborhoods. There's not any more 60, 70, 80-year-olds moving into our neighborhood. Everybody's moving in, are younger people, and they're used to Facebook and
Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter.
And that's what they're used to. So if we don't get it to where we're able to utilize that, then we're just losing more and more people.
So, and the nice thing about Facebook page, if that's where you're wanting to go, is your posts stay on there.
Mhm.
And you can schedule posts,
Mhm.
and it's not that difficult to schedule them. And you can begin, again, did you know who, things that we would take for granted, but the things that a lot of people don't, is, do you know who our Metro Council representative is, with a picture of that person, and their contact information, state, all of that stuff. Other things, and there's a lot of free stuff out there that you can pull from. I'm thinking about disaster preparedness, right? You can go to ready.gov, and they have social media posts, so that when tornado season comes, or hurricane season, or flooding season comes, you can download those posts that they already have the text, and put them right into your Facebook page, or into your website. And those again, you're a source of information, and you're helping people understand. Again, to your point about Facebook, and I'll do sort of a hybrid Facebook webinar. You need spotters, like you need tornado spotters, you need development spotters. And a development spotter drives by a home in your neighborhood, and they see a red and white sign out there that says development issue change. They could very easily take a picture of that property with the sign, and you could take that and send it to you, or whoever's managing your Facebook page, and take that and upload it to the website or the Facebook page, and with a link to the information that the planning department has on that page. And that develops the trust that people know they're looking out for us, right? You can do that also with, I think that at least once a week, there should be a post on your website, or I'm sorry, in your Facebook page, or something on your website always, that talks about 311. And really, I would want to have 211, 311, and 911. So 311 is Hub Nashville, right? 911 is a police emergency. 211 is for people who are needing assistance. It might be rent assistance. It might be assistance. It might be that they're going through a crisis. It might be that they have suicidal thoughts. 211 is actually the number that they can call to get immediate service. Now, if you have this in your website or on your Facebook page, again, this is developing that you are a source of important information. And if you're doing it on your website, you put it in once. You just have a resource page and it's in there. If you're doing it on your Facebook page, you really want to do that, do those every so often. And particularly at Christmas time, it might be that every week you're putting 211 and in a post that says, this is the call you should be making when you get there. Because those are the kinds of things, again, that build that level of trust and make you a source of information. And that's what we're really all I want to do is neighborhood organizations at their very best are a way for people to hear important information about their neighborhood and creating solutions to issues that residents have with living within those neighborhoods. So that really isn't going to be handled in a website, and it's not going to be handled in a Facebook page. You and I both know what happens when you raise an issue and affects Facebook or Nextdoor page, right? All hell, breaks loose, right? And that's really something that needs to happen in the meeting sessions where there's a facilitator who can handle those discussions. But the website can provide that valuable information. And so I would have a blog on that on that front page where every time there's new information, you just keep on adding it over and over again. Now, every one of you raised a really difficult issue. Nobody in our group knows how to do this, right? And the problem is, we all know that there are people in our neighborhoods who have the capacity, the knowledge and the capacity to do it, right? But this is the same problem that we have about our neighborhood organizations in general, right? That there's a lot more people who could be involved in our neighborhood group and aren't. When you go about asking people to participate in these, what's the response? Has anybody tried to recruit a younger person to do the website or a younger person to do the Facebook page?
We had a guy in our group that had offered to help us with our Facebook page. But for some reason, one of our board members did not trust him. She did not trust him, and even though she didn't understand about the Facebook page, but she was like, well, how do we know what he's going to post? Or is he going to post something before anybody can approve it? And then it wasn't long after that he moved out of town. He left town. So, but no, I've not had anybody else that, and nor have I really asked. And I guess I should put it out there and ask, is there somebody that's willing to, to do that?
I think too often we don't ask. We have this need and we're frustrated, but it resides in here and it's never spoken. It's never shared. And we don't get a response, and it makes me frustrated. It used to make me frustrated because I would say, we really need this person to do this. But I would never tell anybody. I would just say we need, or maybe I would say it with the group of people that were in the same situation, right? So we need this knowledge, and we would say to each other, we really need somebody to do this. But we wouldn't go outside of our circle. which is what we really need to do. And so there's a few things that we can offer that might be helpful. One is Neighbor to Neighbor is a member of Hands on Nashville. And so that is a volunteer focused organization. We are able to post announcements for volunteer needs on Facebook or on the HON website. A lot of people look to the HON website for possibilities. It would be easy to say, you know, I'll use you, Anita. Greenwood Neighborhood Association needs someone to help create to help with their Facebook page, or need someone to help with the website, developing a website. Now, I will say that when I use hands, and the other one is Do Good, dogood.org. Both of those, and that one's someone that I think that anybody can post announcements to about volunteer opportunities. That is something that sometimes I will post an announcement and I will get 20 or 30 immediate responses to it. And then other times I will think it's the best volunteer opportunity in the world, and it will sit there for months. And no one will ever respond to it. And so that's one of the challenges, but that's one thing. The other thing is you all have assets in your neighborhood that you can tap into. And for instance, I think every one of you, maybe not Carolyn, but that I'm seeing, have a community center in your neighborhood or near your neighborhood. Going to that community center and talking to the director and saying, we need someone to help us build our website. We need someone to help us with our Facebook page. What you're doing is you're taking a person who generally has knowledge of their clients and may know someone that's willing to do it. And so that trust issue that you had, Anita, may be lowered when you can say the director of the community center recommended that this person be our Facebook page person. The other thing that you all have in your neighborhood are churches. Some of you have synagogues or mosques. Going to the religious leader of that community and asking them, telling them that you really need a Facebook page or you need a website. Did they have anybody who could help? And there's other nonprofit organizations that a lot of people have in their immediate area that they can tap into. And I would encourage that, particularly the churches and the community centers, because they're really tend to have a tendency to deal a lot of times with younger people. And so they may have the good connections for doing that. You are right, and I share your board members' concern about turning someone loose on the website or on the Facebook page without really good, clear directions, right? You really need to articulate, you need to decide what you want your Facebook page or your website to be, and they need to understand that, and you need to share with them what kind of posts you want, right? So I'll give you an example of here at Neighbor to Neighbor. We just hired a part-time administrative coordinator. And I have done a horrible job with Facebook, trying to get posts out on a regular basis for that. And what I've done now is I'm setting up specs and I'm saying, look, this is what we want each week. We want, because we're just going right now for 1 week. We're not going for every day. Actually, we're going for 2 times a week. I want you to post a announcement about in our Passion Network on Tuesday mornings with this photograph, and I give them the photograph. I give them the text, and then I say, I want you to post this one on Thursday, and here's the picture and here's the text. Now, I can get a picture and I can write what I want. I just can't, I don't have the time or the ability to post it into Facebook. So if I give them that information, then they can do it for me. That saves them the need of trying to figure out what to create and write. But it also makes sure that I'm happy, that I know that what's being created and put on those sites are something that I want to be there. So you can sort of judge, and there may be a point where you start out really restricted with somebody, which I probably would, on what they can post or what they can put on the website. And then as things move on, maybe become freer if they earn your trust. The other thing that people have got to be willing to do as well, leadership, is allow younger people to have some freedom to do things that they feel are important to do. You could actually, with a younger person from your neighborhood, or maybe you try to get a couple people, and I'm talking specifically for Facebook right now, try to get a couple people and work with them on establishing ground rules, and allow them to create the page, the Facebook page. And really it becomes a forum that they may not be going to your neighborhood meeting, but they're talking about the neighborhood on your page. They're addressing issues that need to be addressed. And that may be a new way of developing leaders for your neighborhood in the long time, right? Because that's one of the things that I think all of us need, is that we know that some of us, Deborah, some of us have been doing this for 20 plus years, right? And we're not always going to be around. So we've got to figure out a way to get younger people involved in our organizations. And frankly, social media and websites are one way to do that, because there are so knowledgeable about these things. So, what else are you all thinking about? What have I said that you're like, oh, can't do that? Or what are some of the things I've said that, yeah, I really think that's a good idea?
Well, I had a guy that I used to work with. We both retired at the same time. He was our IT person. And he was going to do our website. And then after I had, spoke with him and we were trying to figure out what was going on with the old website and why we couldn't get access to it, then I was told, well, we've got somebody else to do it. And so, it ticked me off because they had given me this project to do, which I was doing.
Yeah.
And we were trying to get around, figure out how we could access the website. And then it just made me mad. And it's like, I don't know whether or not this was our scholarship. And, it was like, I don't know whether or not I want to be a part of this because, you give me something to do, then you go behind my back and you do something else. And then when I come back to you and you say, well, we got somebody to do it. Well, I got the guy to do the applications and everything in PDF so that we could send it out to the folk, because normally when it's scholarship time, we put posters up because we were doing the pandemic. I'm calling all the churches in the area, trying to get their email address, who to send it to, and everything to get the information out there. And I just didn't like how they did it. And then this year it was like, well, does anybody know anybody that can update our website? Mom was the word.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm not saying anything.
So that's a great cautionary tale for all of us, right? That we all have to, our organizations all have to be on the same page, and we have to stand behind the people who are doing stuff for us. And like Deborah, if I don't know I don't know your situation, but I'll tell you, if you were doing it and that happened, I would be standing right there with you. Um, on the other hand, and I think Deborah's frozen. Uh, yeah, she is. No, she's not. No, she's not. Okay, good. And I don't know the situation, Deborah. If Deborah was supposed to do that and get it done in April and it's now June, that's a totally different situation. But if Deborah is doing what she's supposed to be doing, and someone comes around and says, "I think I can do it better," and takes it from her, uh, Deborah was very gracious. Another person probably would have left the group and never returned. And so we have to be really careful about how we handle those relationships, and allow people to do what they say they're going to do, but also hold them accountable. So if they say they're going to do it, you have to be willing to say, hey, you said you were going to do a post every week, or you said you were going to have our website developed by the end of September. It's 2 weeks before the end of September. How are things coming? It's 1 week before the end of September. I'm a little, and then if it's past that, look, we really need to talk about this. That accountability. A lot of people think that because they're not getting paid for it, they don't have to be accountable for it. And that's just not the case. If you make a commitment, it doesn't matter whether you're getting paid for it or not. That's a commitment. And you're obligated, maybe not legally, but there is an ethical obligation to carry through with it, or at the very least to communicate to the person who asked you to do it why you cannot do it. So I think that we have to do a better job of holding people accountable. And I'm sorry that happened to you, Deborah, because to me that would be very frustrating to me to do that work. So a good tale for all of us to remember. Well, we're getting close to the end of the time here tonight. Is there anything else that anybody wants to mention or bring up?
I hadn't heard about the dogood.org site, and so I will probably try to investigate that.
Yeah, and if you are a nonprofit organization, you can also go to HON.org and do that. You have to be I believe you have to be a 501c3. What I'm not sure about is whether you have to be a member of the group first. And that's why I wanted to say that if you want to do it through HON, we can do it. Don't pay that membership fee. Now, if you're a neighborhood organization,
yeah, okay.
And we're not doing it for churches, we're not doing it for other nonprofits, but for neighborhood organizations, that's something we'd be willing to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
we're not a 501(c)(3). Our neighborhood association is not.
Then we would be, very happy to work with you on that, or the dogood.org would be another good one to go to.
Okay.
All right. Well, let me just share with you. Whoops, wrong button. I'm going to share this link with you. I know a lot of you are having development happening in your neighborhood, and I also know that you all of you are pretty darn familiar with the metro planning process. Whether you like it or not, you're familiar with it in some cases. What we need to be doing in our neighborhood groups is looking for people who maybe aren't familiar with it, and helping them to understand the process. And starting on September 25th, we will be hosting our Planning Academy again. This is our Zone Policy and Zoning 101 class. And it goes for 4 sessions. It's a total of 16 hours. So it is a time commitment. But what we are hearing from the people who attend this course is that they really understand the planning and zoning process when they leave. And the issues that they're wondering about when they get there, they have a much better understanding of. And so I just want to encourage all 4 of you to maybe identify someone in your group that might be a good potential lead, talking about, succession planning. Maybe you're the one that has always sort of handled the planning and zoning 101 stuff. Well, maybe there's somebody else in your neighborhood group, a newer member uh, who can do that, or that has shown an interest in that topic, and invite them to attend the planning, policy and zoning 101 class. And I know I'd love for it to be a free class. Unfortunately, we are a nonprofit, and we don't have enough of income at this point to offer it for free. I would encourage you to think about your neighborhood organization doing a scholarship at a level that you feel you can afford, or for that person to contact us directly. We do some full scholarships when there's a need for it. But frankly, what we're really encouraging people to do is to pay what they can. And so
How much is the class?
it's 70, so it's, let me think, it's $75, but then we have 2 other levels. Let me get them here. Yeah, here we go.
Now you were saying that it was 16 hours, so it's 4 hours a session?
It's 4 hours a session
Whew, on a Saturday?
on a Saturday morning. Now, we do get you out at noon. But again, this is a really, what we've done is we've taken a lot of work to really try to help people understand this. So it is a good class for that. I wish it wasn't. So there's 3 levels, and you get to choose. You can pay 75 or 60 or 40. And you don't have to ask us. You just choose the level that you can afford. And if you can't afford the lowest level, then you reach out to me, and I can talk to you about how much you can afford, and we'll make something work. But the class, if we were offering the class, it would be around in the for-profit world, it would probably cost around $375.
These the classes, Jim, are they back to back Saturday after Saturday or once a
4
month?
Saturdays in a row, so you get it over with.
Yeah.
And we offer it twice a year. So if you can't do the fall, I know that there's a lot of football in the fall, and some people just can't do that. Then we offer it again in the spring.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, it's 7:15, so I want to thank you for being here. Next week, we're going to be back here with representatives from MNPD's domestic violence unit, because we're going to be talking about, just lost it here. We're going to be talking about reducing and preventing domestic violence in our neighborhoods. What can a neighborhood organization do? What can individuals do to reduce domestic violence? There are things that we can all do to make a difference and still stay out of harm's way. And that's really important. So I encourage you to come back next Thursday night for that topic as well. So
Okay.
Thanks for being here tonight. Remember, as I
Thank
know you
you.
all know, great neighborhoods don't happen by accident. So find your neighborhood passion and live it out. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Jim.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye, ladies.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
bye, everybody.